In the hushed, gilded corridors of Sandringham House, where the Norfolk winter light filtered through tall windows and fell upon oil paintings of monarchs past, a scene was unfolding that would remain hidden from the public for years. This was not a formal gathering with curtsies and stiff titles, but a private afternoon tea, one of the last that the late Queen Elizabeth II would ever host for her family. The year was 2021. And the atmosphere was heavy with the unspoken understanding that the matriarch, now in her 95th year, was carefully imparting a lifetime of wisdom to those who would carry the monarchy forward. Among the delicate china cups and the scent of Earl Grey, the Queen's sharp eyes, which had witnessed the triumphs and scandals of a century, were fixed on her granddaughter-in-law, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge. Prince William sat nearby, his posture attentive, while across from them, and Prince Charles, the heir to the throne, listened with the solemnity of a man who knew his own reign was approaching. The conversation drifted from the trivial, the antics of the corgis, the quality of the winter roses, to the profoundly significant. The Queen, in her characteristic way, did not lecture. Instead, she told stories. She spoke of the Blitz, of the first time she addressed the nation as a young princess, of the weight of the crown, both literally and figuratively. But it was a specific observation about Catherine that silenced the room. Looking directly at Kate, the Queen's eyes twinkled with a mixture of affection and shrewd assessment. "You have a strength that reminds me of the Queen Mother's," she said, her voice soft but carrying the absolute authority of her station. "But more than that, you see people. You see their pain before you see their pomp. That is a gift, and it will be your greatest protection." She then turned to Charles and William, who were both listening intently. "When I am gone, there will be times of great change for this family. Catherine will not just be a decorative part of that change, she will be its architect. You must listen to her. Trust her instincts implicitly." William and Charles exchanged a glance, a fleeting moment of shared surprise. For the Queen to make such a definitive statement about the future was rare. She was not one to openly anoint a favorite or predict dynamics. Yet here she was. I'm essentially handing Catherine a key to the future of the monarchy. The message was astonishing, not because it spoke of titles or duties, but because it spoke of emotional intelligence, a quality the often stoic institution had historically undervalued. The late Queen was unveiling her belief that Kate was the emotional rudder that would steady the ship when the waters grew rough. As the tea grew cold, the weight of her words settled on them. It was a prophetic moment, and a quiet passing of a torch that had nothing to do with the crown on the head and everything to do with the heart of the family. Fast forward to the spring of 2024, and the prophetic nature of the late Queen's words crashed over the House of Windsor like a wave. The palace was in crisis, not a scandal of infidelity or financial impropriety, but something far more human and terrifying: cancer. Two senior royals, King Charles III and the Princess of Wales, were simultaneously battling the disease. The king had withdrawn from public duties to undergo treatment, and Catherine was recovering from major abdominal surgery, with the world speculating wildly about her absence. The atmosphere inside Adelaide Cottage, the Wales family home, was one of intense private struggle. William was juggling the fear of a husband with the duties of a son and the public expectation of an heir. He was pale, drawn, and ferociously protective. And it was during this dark period that the second part of the late Queen's message began to unveil itself. Catherine, weak and recovering, became the unexpected anchor. While the world saw a frail princess hidden away inside the royal households, she was a quiet source of counsel. According to close aides later, it was Catherine who encouraged William to maintain his public engagements, telling him that hiding away would only fuel the rumor mill. It was Catherine who, from her sickbed, I'd penned a heartfelt note to her father-in-law, the king, offering not platitudes but a shared understanding of the brutal reality of treatment. This gesture, small in action but monumental in meaning, deepened their bond in a way that years of family dinners never had. The king, undergoing his own arduous treatment, found a unique solace in his daughter-in-law. Royal author Robert Jobson later noted that their shared cancer battle strengthened their bond immeasurably. Charles, and who had spent his entire life waiting for the throne, was now faced with his own mortality. In those quiet, painful months, he saw in Catherine a reflection of the very strength the late Queen had spoken of. He was so impressed with her grace and grit that he bestowed upon her the Royal Companion of Honor, an unmistakable sign of his faith in her ability to help carry the monarchy forward. Yet, even in this newfound closeness, there was a fascinating tension rooted in the late Queen's prophecy. Charles, despite his admiration, steadfastly refused to discuss the future with Catherine. He avoided any conversation about her eventual role as queen. Insiders revealed that the king was not about to be giving Kate advice about being a future queen, because it would give oxygen to the notion that he might not be around much longer. He intended to stay put on the throne for years to come, as a determination that was both admirable and a source of underlying friction with William, who was already planning for the modern monarchy he intended to lead. The late Queen's message was playing out in real time. Catherine was the bridge, but the gap between the king's present and the future king's vision was a chasm that only she seemed able to navigate. The most public unveiling of this internal dynamic came in September 2024. After months of speculation, wild conspiracy theories, and a manipulated photograph that sent the internet into a frenzy, Catherine released a deeply personal video message. It was a statement of survival, confirming she had completed chemotherapy. But the medium was as shocking as the message. It wasn't a formal address from a desk. It was a raw, intimate family video set in the Norfolk countryside. Slow-motion shots of the family playing, holding hands, and then laughing were intercut with Catherine's voiceover speaking of the stormy waters of cancer. It was vulnerable, cinematic, and utterly unlike anything the royal family had ever produced. Behind palace doors, the reaction was seismic, and it perfectly illustrated the lingering astonishment of the late Queen's long-ago tea party. According to royal author Robert Jobson, Queen Camilla, upon watching the video, had a very funny and mischievous reaction. She joked to friends that the highly stylized slow-motion footage of Kate flicking her hair was like a shampoo commercial. It was a private jest, not meant with any malice, as Jobson insisted the two women get on fine. But it revealed a cultural gap. Camilla, of an older generation, saw the presentation as perhaps too polished, too modern. Yet, this was precisely the architect of change the late Queen had predicted. Catherine was communicating directly to the public in a visual language they understood, bypassing the traditional stuffy palace press machine. The video had its intended effect. It silenced the critics and reminded the world of the humanity at the heart of the monarchy. But it was the reaction of the men, William and Charles, that truly unveiled the depth of the late Queen's foresight. William was, by all accounts, immensely proud. He saw his wife taking control of the narrative, protecting their children's privacy while offering gratitude to the public. It was a masterclass in modern royal communication. For Charles, the video was a bittersweet confirmation of his mother's wisdom. Here was Catherine, demonstrating the very strength and ability to connect that the late Queen had highlighted. Yet, it also underscored the shifting sands. The public was looking to Catherine with a renewed sense of affection and loyalty, as a beacon of hope as the king himself continued his own cancer battle. The focus was subtly, inexorably, moving toward the next generation. Then came a moment of profound emotional resonance that tied the past to the present. On the first anniversary of the Queen's death, William and Kate attended a memorial service at St. David's Cathedral in Wales. It was a day of quiet reflection. As they left the service, Kate laid a bouquet of white roses before a photograph of the late monarch. Meeting a well-wisher who spoke of fond memories of the Queen, Kate's response was telling. "We all have wonderful memories of her," she said softly. "We have to hold on to them, cherish them." Later, as they signed the visitor's book, William pointed to a section and murmured to his wife, "Some great memories of the Queen." Kate smiled, replying, "It's wonderful to see what they were thinking about at that time." This simple exchange was the living proof of the late Queen's legacy. Catherine wasn't just performing a duty, she was actively cherishing the memory, teaching by example how to hold the family history close while moving forward. The final, astonishing layer of this emotional tale unfolded in the spring of 2025 as a new threat emerged from across the Atlantic. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were once again in the headlines, with Harry's interviews and the potential for new revelations putting the palace on edge. But the dynamic the late Queen had foreseen, Catherine as the emotional core, was put to its severest test. Sources revealed that William, fearing his brother's offensive moves and worried that anything said to Harry could be used against the family, made a stern decision. He issued a directive to the family to maintain distance, to be as defensive as possible. This put William in a difficult position with his own wife. As much as William hates laying down the law with his own wife, an insider revealed, his biggest fear was that anything Kate said to Harry could be weaponized, especially if Meghan decided to do her own memoir. The report suggested there was no guarantee the future Queen would agree to William's demands, as she cares very deeply about Harry and is desperately worried about him. Here it was, the ultimate test of the late Queen's message. Catherine, the architect of change, the emotional rudder was now caught between her husband's protective instincts and her own compassionate nature. She remembered the Harry she once knew, the brother who had been part of the Fab Four. Her instinct, as the late Queen had predicted, was to see the person, not just the prince causing the problem. William was left stunned, not by anger at his wife, but by the impossible situation. He had to protect his family, yet his strongest asset, Kate's empathy, was the very thing that made her want to reach out. In the end, the story that the title Anne Unveils the Late Queen's Astonishing Message About Kate hints at is not one of a single revelation, but of a legacy unfolding in real time. The late Queen, in her infinite wisdom, had seen the future with startling clarity. She had identified Catherine as the glue, the strategist, and the heart. Through cancer scares, public crises, and family rifts, and that message has proven true. William and Charles, two men destined to be kings, have been left stunned not by a ghost, but by the living, breathing proof of the woman Catherine has become. She carries the late Queen's wisdom not in a locket, but in her actions, quietly unveiling with each passing day the astonishing truth that the future of the monarchy is safe in her hands.